Welcome back, Sebastian here. So today I'm going to be talking about Alpine and how they've done to start the 2023 Formula One season. So to start, I'm going to be going through race by race to see how they've done in each race so far. So at the Bahrain Grand Prix, Esteban Ocon had an absolutely torrid weekend, whereas Pierre Gasly went from the back of the grid to 9th place. So a really torrid weekend from Gasly there, and then the exact opposite from Ocon. Second race this season in Saudi Arabia, Ocon finished 8th and Gasly 9th. Third race this season in Australia, the race was going really well for them until both cars crashed into each other, and they were classified 13th and 14th respectively, despite the fact that they did not finish the race. And that was mostly an error on Gasly's part, rejoining the track incredibly aggressively and cutting off his teammate and both crashing into the wall. In Azerbaijan, really torrid weekend overall for a variety of reasons. Ocon finished 15th in the main Grand Prix and finished 18th in the sprint race, whereas Gasly finished 14th and then finished 13th in the sprint race. This past weekend in Miami, Ocon finished 9th and Gasly finished 8th. So generally when they finished very close to each other, which I think kind of backs up what we thought, that both Ocon and Gasly are very similar drivers in terms of driver level. Although I am a bit surprised that Gasly is as close as he is coming into a team that Ocon's been at for a long time. So looking at the head-to-head between Ocon and Gasly, Gasly is ahead on points 8-6, but still very close. Race head-to-head, Gasly has the advantage 2-1. However, in qualifying, it's an advantage Ocon, 3-2 so far in the qualifying head-to-head. Now looking at the qualifying delta, right now it's a 0.152 second advantage for Ocon. However, if that was with removing the results from the Azerbaijan Grand Prix qualifying, because it was a massive 2-second gap between them, and it was a massive outlier for a variety of reasons, I think, including the fact that Gasly had very little practice time because of the single practice session and his car caught fire, so very limited running, and it's very unrepresentative time. So if you include that, it would balloon up to about half a second, which I don't think is representative based on the other races. Now, just looking at how they've done on my power rankings just for fun, Gasly has been on average 8.6 and Ocon has been 15.2 on average. So I think Gasly's had a bit of a better season. I think expectations were a little lower for Gasly compared to Ocon, given that he was coming to a new team. I also think Gasly's been a little bit better in the races outside of Australia. Now looking at Alpine, the team in the constructors, comparing last year 2022 and 2023. Last year after 5 races they had scored 26 points. This year after the same amount of races they've scored only 14. So a bit of a drop in the constructors. Looking at their gap to pole, at this point last year they were 1.129 seconds behind, and this year it's 1.1 exactly. So very, very close in terms of gap to pole. So in terms of qualifying, I think they're basically in the same spot. Of course, the big difference is that Aston Martin has completely leapfrogged them. So instead of being 4th, they're now, I think, the pretty clear 5th best team to start the season. And again, yeah, that kind of bears itself out in terms of gap to pole. They're 5th best both last year and this year. So actually, Alfa Romeo were faster in qualifying than them to start last year, but of course finished behind them. So for Alpine, I think they have a really good chance of finishing 5th in the constructors. Obviously, they're gonna be in that battle with McLaren for the whole season. It's gonna be really interesting to see how that goes. I think McLaren has the better drivers in Norris and Piastri, but I do think that the Alpine car is better right now. So it'll be really interesting to see how that goes. And I think it also, pace-wise, not necessarily result-wise, but pace-wise, it's more consistent than the McLaren right now. So it'll be really interesting to see how that battle goes. And I think as long as they can eliminate kind of the reliability issues and kind of the crashiness and kind of poor performances for both Ocon and Gasly, I think they'll do pretty well this year. Maybe not as well as they expected, but I think, all being said, I think a pretty good result overall. So that's all for Alpine. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.